It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update, as Dark Side of the Ring Season 3 continues. CM Punk discusses the Easter eggs that link Adam Cole, Bray Wyatt, Bryan Danielson and Charlotte Flair to AEW, and a former Ring of Honor champion has been hospitalized. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first, tonight AEW returns to Chicago, Illinois for All Out Week as we head to the pay-per-view this Sunday. Dynamite, Rampage and All Out will all take place in the Now Arena, formerly known as the Sears Center, the home of All In as well as the first All Out. 5 matches and 3 segments have been announced as of this recording, so let's take a look at what All Elite Wrestling has in store for us in the Windy City. Ty Conti will take on Penelope Ford in singles action in the women's division. There will be a grudge match between the teams of FTR and Santana and Ortiz after their last encounter left Cash Wheeler with a serious arm laceration. Orange Cassidy will take on Jack Evans as his feud with the Hardy family office continues. Team Taz's Powerhouse Hobbs will battle former stablemate Brian Cage in a monster vs monster match. AEW World Champions The Young Bucks and Impact World Tag Team Champions The Good Brothers will take on the Lucha Brothers and the Jurassic Express ahead of the AEW Tag Team title match this weekend between the Bucks and the Lucha Brothers. Jim Ross interviews Chris Jericho ahead of the final fight with MJF at All Out on Sunday. And Tony Schiavone interviews MJF, who looks to end the AEW in-ring career of Le Champion and will do so with a victory at the pay-per-view. And finally, hometown hero CM Punk will appear live in the middle of the ring to discuss his all-out match against Darby Allin, with Darby and Sting likely waiting in the rafters. Perhaps tonight we'll see the first CM Punk physical altercation since his wrestling return at AEW Rampage The First Dance. It should be a solid show and I can't wait to see Punk being in front of the Chicago crowd once again. And make sure you let me know your predictions for the night in the comments down below. Next up, we have an update on the MMA future of CM Punk, and it seems that his fighting days are in fact over. According to a report from MMAfighting.com, Punk has notified the UFC that he has retired from the sport of mixed martial arts. This follows his return to professional wrestling just 2 weeks ago. UFC officials have confirmed the news this past Tuesday. Punk transitioned to MMA in 2014 after his WWE departure and would end up fighting twice, losing both before one of them was ruled a no contest due to his opponent Mike Jackson testing positive for marijuana use. This official retirement means he will no longer be tested by the United States Anti-Doping Agency, a requirement of all active fighters, and he was tested 6 times in 2020 alone. The UFC are said to have been informed of the decision before his AEW debut, and whilst his MMA career didn't go quite as well as he'd hoped, he definitely made the right decision at the age of 42. And in more CM Punk news, he recently appeared in an interview with the Angie Taylor Show, and he discussed his return to professional wrestling after a 7-year absence. In one of the most memorable moments in modern wrestling history, Punk made his hometown AEW debut in a packed-out United Center. Since then, Punk has avoided talking too much about his time in WWE, referring to them as the place he used to work. During his first AEW promo, he failed to mention WWE at all, instead skipping ahead from 2005 to 2021 from his Ring of Honor exit to his AEW debut. Punk explained the reasoning behind this and said, "I understand life's tough and not everybody can do it, but I'm just somebody that will just never compromise myself. And I say the place I used to work because I don't feel it's specifically necessary to mention them when I don't have to. I am full of anxiety and stress doing press for AEW right now that I'm inadvertently going to say a bunch of stupid stuff." Punk was then asked if a return to WWE was ever on the cards over the past few years, with Punk revealing that he hadn't even considered a return to wrestling until AEW started, and he added, "I don't think I considered it. 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't think AEW even existed. I don't think going back to WWE was ever really logically on the table." Punk would go on to answer some fan questions, with one asking about Punk's emotional return to wrestling, and said, "I'm gonna call out Thunder Rosa. I was a nervous wreck the whole time. I'm pacing the hallway, I can't sit still, I can't watch a monitor, I can't talk to people, I'm running around. And then I'm waiting to go out, waiting for my music to hit, and she just looks at me and says, "Hey, welcome back." I almost just burst into tears. She got me pretty good with that one. I don't know if that was her intention, but yeah, she got me. Punk's debut saw him with tears in his eyes, and it looks like Thunder Rosa is to blame for that, although I'm sure the Chicago crowd would have triggered it if she hadn't. And I'll blame Thunder Rosa for my teary eyes too. And quickly, just before we continue, make sure you drop a like on the video as it helps me out a lot, and make sure you subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any upcoming wrestling content as we head, hopefully, towards 100,000 subscribers. But now, let's press play on the video. Fans of the critically acclaimed Dark Side of the Ring series, which takes a look at the, well, darker side of the ring, will be pleased to know that Series 3 will be continuing this month after the series took a brief break mid-season. Vice have now released a list of the remaining episodes with synopsises that read: on the 16th of September, we'll see the plane ride from hell, where a private 757 flight descended into a nightmare as intoxicated wrestlers clashed with their flight crew, erupting into one of wrestling's most infamous scandals. Then on the 23rd, it'll be the double life of Chris Kanyon, as in a culture that celebrates machoism and negative gay stereotypes, wrestling innovator Chris Kanyon kept his own sexuality a closely guarded secret for decades. Then on the 30th, it'll be Blood and Wire Anita's FMW, as after Japan's Atsushi Anita created FMW and its spectacular matches featuring explosions and gratuitous gore, his handpicked successor took his own life while drowning in debt. And for those that don't know, Anita was the one that invented the exploding barbed wire deathmatch, which was used in AEW, and he's the reason that Jon Moxley changed his music to Wild Thing. Then on the 7th of October, there'll be Bikers, Bombs and Bedlam Johnny K9, as Johnny K9 led a double life as an in-ring brute, and the leader of a biker gang implicated in drug trafficking, the bombing of a police station and a gruesome double murder. Then on the 14th, the many faces of Luna Vachon. As a striking villain in the ring, Luna Vachon was a groundbreaking physical performer who battled mental illness and addiction while seeking to champion women's wrestling. Then Extreme and Obscene Rob Black's XPW, as XPW merged Rob Black's passions for hardcore porn and deathmatch wrestling, but after he waged a war with federal authorities, his empire imploded, and that will show on the 21st of October, and then on the 28th, the series will close with the steroid trials, as in the mid-90s, wrestling was rocked by accusations of rampant steroid use. With star witness Hulk Hogan, prosecutors set out to prove that Vince McMahon was the one responsible. And if you haven't seen the series already, I highly recommend doing so, as it contains arguably some of the best wrestling documentaries ever produced, and there's already 2.5 seasons already released. And which of the new episodes are you looking forward to the most? Let me know in the comments down below. CM Punk has recently added fuel to the fire of rumoured AEW signings over the past 2 appearances on Rampage and Dynamite. For both shows, Punk had written initials on his sneakers, 4 of which correlated to rumoured AEW signings in the future. First there was AC, which people assumed stood for Adam Cole, then there was CF, meaning Charlotte Flair, BW, meaning Bray Wyatt, and BD, meaning Bryan Danielson, or at least that's what fans assumed. In an interview with the New York Post, Punk addressed the situation, stating that it's merely a tribute to Chicago, and said, "I stole this from LeBron James. A lot of basketball players will write messages on their shoes and stuff. I wrote AC on my shoes and CF on the other foot. AC is always Chicago, and CF is Chicago forever." Whilst this doesn't explain why he wrote BD and BW, I suppose we'll have to take his word for it. But if I had to guess, I think Punk was referring to the previously mentioned names to get people talking, but I don't think that necessarily means it's a confirmation of them being AEW bound. I think he just knows how the internet works. He's a smart guy and knows people will pick up on it. And until we get an explanation as to what BD and BW means, I think we'll stick to our original story. And finally, former Ring of Honor World Champion Rush has undergone emergency surgery this week in a situation that is highly concerning for his fans. He is currently in Mexico City, and photos have been posted by his family with the wrestling star laying in a hospital bed. There was also a photo released of him in a wheelchair. Although the exact nature of the problem is unknown, his pre-surgery condition was described as serious. His wife posted a short statement on Twitter, and we've translated it using Google from Spanish to English. This short message is to thank my husband Roosh for showing affection and good wishes after his operation. Next Thursday in the press conference that we are going to offer, we will give you more details about his state of health and we will reveal some news. Roosh recently worked 2 matches for Ring of Honor on Night 1 and Night 2 of the Glory by Honor pay-per-view before ROH announced that he had suffered a knee injury. There is still no word on why he was hospitalized or if it's linked to his knee, although we should be able to find out more in the upcoming press conference, and we'll make sure to bring you any updates as they come. But let's all hope that he will be okay and can make a full recovery, and I send my thoughts his way as he is one of the brightest stars in the business with a huge future ahead of him. And before you go, make sure you check out my video where I discuss 10 Bryan Danielson dream matches in AEW.